Hi there, in this video we'll be replacing the heater in a Hotpoint WM11 washing machine. The procedure is pretty straightforward and covers a number of other makes and models. Although access to the heater will vary on a number of other makes, removal process is usually quite similar. Before starting work on any domestic appliance, remove the mains plug from the power supply. The first thing to do is remove as much water from the machine as possible, so tilt it backwards and prop it up with something. Then lower the outlet hose into a washing up bowl. If the hose is held onto the back of the machine with a clip, then undo it so it's as low to the ground as you can get it. When no more water comes out of it, lift the hose and stand the machine upright. Undo these two screws on the back of the lid, then you can slide it backwards and lift it off. Pull the soap drawer out as far as it will come, then give it a tug and it will come all the way out. Remove the screws in the opening and put them on one side because they're stainless steel so they don't rust, as well as being slightly longer than all the other screws. To remove the timer knob, you'll have to loosen off the clamping screw holding it onto the timer shaft, and to get to it you need to go through the hole in the top of the cabinet fascia. Behind the knob are two more screws that have to come out, and then the fascia panel can be taken off. The door seal is the next part to come off. If you use a thin bladed screwdriver and lever these two sections apart, the seal retaining wire will come out easily. Now unhook the door seal from the front of the cabinet and fold it inside the drum out of the way. Undo the two screws holding the interlock on. Don't try to take it out, just leave it where it is. It's not in any danger of getting broken. There are 3 screws along the top of the panel and 3 more under it. Remove the lower screws first. When the top 3 screws have been taken out, the front panel can be removed and placed on one side out of the way. At this point it may be a good idea to tilt the machine back again and block it up so it doesn't fall. This way, if there is any water left in the drum, it will be at the back and nowhere near you when the heater is removed. The only wire you need worry about putting on the wrong terminal when you reassemble is the earth, the yellow and green. The other 2 outside wires can go on either terminal, but the earth wire must go on the centre terminal. If you're not sure, write it down or take a photo. The heaters nowadays are fitted with an internal thermal cutout which prevents the heaters from becoming dangerously overheated and blowing the casing, as was the situation with some of the earlier heaters. As you can see, there's no continuity through the circuit, so this heater needs replacing. Loosen the centre nut but don't completely remove it. Tap it back in so it frees the clamping plate on the other side of the rubber seal. This seal holds the heater in place as well as making it watertight. If you're lucky, you'll be able to ease the heater out by pulling on the terminal pins, but in a number of cases you may have to use a flat bladed screwdriver to lever it out. In that scenario, be careful not to damage the front plate. Take a look at the heater guard and which way up it fits onto the heater, because it slots under a lip inside the container, and if you fit it the wrong way up it won't hold the heater rigid during the spin cycle, which would possibly cause it to damage the inner drum, the heater and the front plate, so it is important which way up it goes. The heater on the left is a straight replacement for the one on the right, even though they look slightly different. The new heater carries a thermistor, but it doesn't need to be connected. In fact, unless you replace the thermistor plug on your machine you wouldn't be able to. The length of the central element casing is different also, but the overall length of the heaters are the same, and this is the main point. Because if the new heater was shorter, then the guard would not locate under the lip in the container, and if it were too long, it wouldn't fit into the machine. Clean the guard up so all the loose bits have been removed before reattaching it to the new heater. Ideally a new one should be used, but the old one will do just fine as long as you remember that when you fit the heater guard you make sure all the flaps are bent over so it's tight and doesn't move about, because it would soon become unattached and cause a lot of internal damage. It should look like this, with the terminals on the heater facing downwards and the heater guard under the tip of the element. When you slide the heater into the container, make sure the tip is pointing towards the bottom of it rather than up towards the inner drum, or it may not locate under the lip and therefore rub on the inner drum or move about during the wash or spin. To fix the heater in place, tighten the central nut. This will pull the internal clamp plate in tight and squash the seal. As previously mentioned, the yellow and green is the earth wire and that fits on the central connection. Either of the other wires can fit on the outside terminals, but you'll normally find one wire slightly longer than the other, so just connect them to the terminal that they're closest to. Remember to replace the black terminal cover because this is a safety feature. Just in case of a leak, it will protect the terminals from water contact. Hook the front panel over the kick plate on the bottom of the cabinet and fit the top screws first. After you've fitted the screws to the lower section of the panel, sight the interlock in place, attach the latch plate and screw the two together. Before you start refitting the door sill, pull it out from inside the drum so it sits evenly around the door opening. This way, when you fit it to the panel, it will go on evenly and not twisted. The retaining band is sometimes hard to get into the lip on the sill, so if you run a drop of washing up liquid between your fingers, then run the band through them, it will help it go on easier. Hook one end of the wire band into the larger of the two clamp sections and fit it to the clip on the panel. Feed the band in the groove around the sill and with the pronged part of the clasp, join the two sections together. Replace the fascia panel and refit the two screws in the recess behind the timer knob. The knob itself will only fit in one position, so you may need to turn it until it locates. Then push it on and tighten the clamping screw. If you remember to keep these separate, you should have 4 stainless steel screws that are slightly longer than the others, because they have to screw into the soap dispenser rather than the cabinet. When they're fitted, slide the drawer in, but make sure the flap at the end is in the closed position or it won't fit. Replace the top, screw it down and you're ready to water test the machine. On behalf of Selfix UK, we'd like to thank you for watching this video and hope you found it interesting. Goodbye.